This is Moneyline Mania with Chaz and the crew.
Shazimoto, what's up, buddy?
I have a crew. I don't always need my crew. It's not like the Crips and the Bloods or something. We're sports bettors, for heaven's sakes. We've had Reno Johnny. He's always going to be Jonathan from San Antonio to me, but he's Reno Johnny. He and I are both writing for Vegas Insider. Actually, he was their number one handicapper. John from GMF Sports. Not only is he getting cocky with his videos on social media, he's showing the dollar amounts too. And then, of course, we got Blackhawk West just jumping up and down. He really believes deep in his heart that the Buckeyes can beat Georgia. We should start with the guys that are in Circa. So all three of you guys have some kind of Vegas contest going, right?
The first game I'm going to talk about is the Titans-Eagles game. A lot is made of Henry and the rushing attack of Tennessee, and Tennessee can really ugly up a game. This is a 4.5-point spread. Tennessee is 12th in the league in rushing, and Philly actually averages more rushing yards. The main number that has me on this, the points average by both teams. Philly is averaging 27.5 points a game. Tennessee is averaging under 20 a game. In fact, Tennessee has only hung over 20 3 times. Philly has only not hung 20 twice. In order to beat Philly, Tennessee's going to have to find a way to score at least 21 points and hold Philly. I don't see that happening. And the popular pick, Tennessee's going to cover. Philadelphia just had a really tough game against Green Bay. They don't take that lightly. They look terrible against a terrible team. I think that the 4.5 is a gift here. I think Philly's going to win big. I'm laying the 4.5 points. Tennessee is a good team to take in certain spots, but not in this one.
Philly, 10-1 at home. The game's gone over. 10 out of 11.
Yeah.
Same quarterback.
I'm going to jump into the Kansas City game here. Interesting stat. Patrick Mahomes hasn't lost a game in November and December in the last 26. The last time he lost a game in November and December was back in 2019, November 10th. On the road, he actually has a better record where he's 24-15 against the spread here. Kansas City, I'm taking this spread here, even though I normally don't like them because they normally don't cover the spread. I'm going to take them here, 2 and a hook. I'm not sure what it is on Circa. That's on my book line. I have to check the Circa line for that, but I'm going to take them both ways, both money and Circa there. With those numbers and those odds, it's hard to believe. He's actually in his career 32-4 in November and December.
In their last 9 games this year, Cincinnati at home, 8-1 against the spread. Those 2 games you mentioned are my 2 most looking forward to games.
Joe Burrow has a very impressive against the spread record too. At home. Cincinnati is still fighting for that wild card.
Is Chase coming back?
Not confirmed yet. That's a game changer if he can get arguably one of the top wide receivers back in the game.
Jonathan.
I think Chase is coming back. I think he was supposed to come back last week. We'll start off with Raiders. Give me the Raiders. I've actually been on the Raiders last couple of weeks. They've been good for me. They're only 5-5 against the spread on the season. They're playing against the Chargers, but they're at home. After back-to-back weeks of finding their identity behind Josh Jacobs, I expect them to do that again. LA Chargers is not a good run defense. Since when they lost to the Colts and Derek Carr kind of came out, and there's a couple things in this league, right? You can either fall apart like we saw Mac Jones passing the ball more. I guess 36 times is not enough in the game for him. I like Derek Carr's attitude to understand they're 4-7, but I feel like the desire there between him, Devontae Adams, like they want to win. Josh Jacobs is running really hard. Joke is in a contract year. He tends to just show the heck out, and hopefully he can continue this. But I look at this as a team that let's get behind Josh Jacobs, run the football, hone in on that identity. I do like them as they're short, they're -1 at home. It's 2 back-to-back overtime games. They were able to find a way to win. When I look at this trend as the Raiders, 5-1 against the spread, facing teams with a winning record. They play up to the competition, down to the competition. In this situation, I'll back them here at home. 4-7 does not mean they're out. I'll back them here at a short home price.
Neither of these teams should be in the playoffs. If they make it, there's something wrong with the world.
I do like the Raiders. I've been a Derek Carr fan ever since his Fresno State days. Devontae Adams, too. Me and my small schools and my mid-majors getting a little love. I tend to cheer for those guys hard in the NFL as well, NBA, wherever they make it. I like them. I see Carr as a guy that puts in the work. It just hasn't really happened for him yet, and I feel like this could be one of those years. This could be that turning point year.
Isn't your biggest issue, Wes, the coach?
There's a handful of coaches I take issue with, but the Raiders, you look at how many coaches Derek Carr has had, that's just not a winning recipe. This is a Hall of Fame quarterback. If he had had the right support behind him, the organization has no problem going out and getting players, buying their way up in drafts, making trades. That Khalil Mack trade should have set them up and had them as perennial playoff contenders. I never thought that they should have brought John Gruden in, not because he's Gruden, not not because of how that ended, but they had a winning record before they brought him in.
Yeah, Del Rio was good.
And he was a winner, and he knew how to coach some D. They certainly would have been tougher. I'm with you on the Raiders. The league needs a villain, and they're the perfect villain to have.
You're not going to have any problem bringing in guys. You're in Las
Vegas, you won't.
You're at the entertainment capital of the world. People are going to want to go play for you. You have no problem bringing in people. Not a lot of people seem to agree with me on Derek Carr. Nobody realizes the amount of turnover he's experienced in his career. Think about Tom Brady. What makes him great? Same coach for 19 years.
Unfortunate with him for the coaching situation, but I think when you look at the AFC, you have to, number one, go to Kansas City Chiefs. So now you're looking at Patrick Mahomes. Now you go to Josh Allen. You have to put those at your top two. So where do you put yourself as an AFC team as far as attracting players to when you go there? I think if anybody's going to go to a team, to any conference, you're going to go to the NFC. Obviously, they lured Devontae Adams in coming in, but there's been a lot of mishaps, not only with the Raiders, but the way they handle the organization. They don't know how to act. Disappointment. I love the Raiders. They did nothing but let me down for circa.
They sure did.
They burned us. That's one of the only teams.
Because they gave me 4 losses in circa this year.
Dead to me, baby.
So I'm not supporting that. I like Derek Carr. I think he's terrible at second reads. I don't understand the whole hype. I get they have Waller and these other injury issues. I'm sick and tired of making excuses for this organization because I was the one doing that. I think they should trade him.
I understand it because the league's built about winning.
And I'm just talking about KC and Buffalo. I have to talk about San Diego, who has Herbert.
Joe Burrow.
Tennessee. They have to win that division outright. And if not, you're looking at a wild card for the rest of the 5-6 years? Nah.
With the Raiders winning that division, it's less about Derek Carr. You look at organization, you look at what the Chiefs did this year. They knew the strategy to beat them was going to be to run the ball down your throat and kill the clock. Look at where the Chiefs' rushing defense ranks this year. They went out and got tougher against the rush because they knew that that was going to be their kryptonite, and they made that move. They didn't pay Tyreek. They knew, why are we going to pay a $30 million wide receiver? So in order to get to the playoffs, the Raiders got to figure out a way to beat the Chiefs, or at least not get beat by the Chiefs.
As long as Mahomes is in Kansas City, I don't know who's going to win that division.
He's still a young kid. He's not even close to being old. There's some things he's probably not able to do yet.
So you're talking 5 or 6 years, bare minimum.
He does no wrong in this city. My son is 4 months old, and he's going to go to Patrick Mahomes High School. I have no doubt. Mahomes just had a son, and it was like the opening scene of The Lion King.
Yeah, I believe it.
6 years as a wild card, or I think if they're going to be the Raiders, you spend the money and you go all out. I get the Adams whole situation, but you haven't really went all out. Now what are you going to do? You still have the same old coach. You just signed a contract for him. You're bringing him back. That's a little bit of continuity. But what are you going to do in the terms of free market agency next year to propel yourself past Kansas City and even Chargers at this point? Because I would put Chargers and Raiders in the same category. I'd put them 50-50.
Derek Carr, is he in a contract here?
He has an option for next year.
He's going to stay. They brought Devontae Adams for him. They are like best friends. I work with a guy that is an alumni from Fresno, did play in the NFL, and he says it's not like an act. They really are really good friends. The story came out, they almost died together or something, kayaking. Derek Carr is not going anywhere because Devontae Adams is there because of Derek Carr. Josh McDaniels is not a great head coach. We saw it in Denver. They were cheating, quote unquote, videotaping. That's when they were doing good. After
you mean an ex-Patriots coach was cheating? Nah, that can't have happened.
The only coaches from the Belichick tree that are worth anything are the ones that were a part of that Browns team that Belichick never saw through. Saban and Ferentz in the last 10 or 15 years. Belichick, you're not getting Belichick.
His best disciple was his former player, Mike Vrabel.
Right, but he never coached for them, right?
He never coached. Only coached Houston as a linebacker coach.
Where did Mike Vrabel go to college?
Ohio State.
The one I'm looking at is San Francisco and the Miami game. And all I've been hearing for days is Miami is going to go into San Francisco and get a win. And San Francisco's a 4-point favorite. The very first place that I look when I am breaking down a game is I look at where the money's being laid. The spread opened at 4, and 72% of the tickets are on Miami, and the spread is still at 4. So there's money on the San Francisco side of things keeping that line at 4, or the house is totally comfortable being exposed, giving up 4 points to Miami. I like the San Francisco side. But then you start to look at stats, and there is almost no stat that makes me like Miami better than San Francisco. San Francisco's got the number 1 defense in the league. They're number 1 against the rush. They're not allowing a ton of passing. Their pass rush is good. But then when you look at the way that they have the ability to score points, Miami's defense is not the best. And then they're traveling across the country. I love the Niners in this spot. The Niners are sitting in a great position. I think that they're the best team in the NFC, unquestioned, when they're totally healthy. Forget Jimmy G. That team is too good for Jimmy G to bring them down. And he's been to a Super Bowl and NFC Championship game. So you got a quarterback playing with a chip on his shoulder. You got a team traveling from Miami to San Francisco. 72% of the tickets on Miami. I'm going the opposite. I'm laying 4 points, and I think San Francisco is going to own them.
6 straight games, Miami on the road has given up 27 points. Boy, that kid, Jimmy G, seems like he's doing okay for a guy that really got a raw deal. He was a good Catholic boy. He said his prayers. He went to confession. Everything's good.
I'm in kind of a Jimmy G guy, too. I mean, I think people always look at, like, raw numbers. People just, hey, he's a game manager. He's one hell of a good game manager. If you look at his starts, he's on pace with Joe Montana percentage of winning games as a starter. And in the time that he's been there and maybe been hurt, the Niners have like a 32% win percentage. One hell of a game manager, and if he's going to win you 60% of your games.
Remember, he had a run.
Yeah, won his first 5 games as a San Francisco 49er.
It was almost double digits.
Well, yeah, if you include the Patriots, I think it was 9-0, yeah.
San Francisco actually has the number 1 defense as far as points allowed for the season.
You know what I like about San Francisco? In the second half, they turn on the faucet of the defense and they just smother people.
They have that young kid, like a Troy Polamalu Jr.
Yeah.
Hufanga.
He looks good. I like him.
You guys play a lot of money. I've been in the contest, but it's been a few years since. Because me in contests, my gambling style just doesn't fit. But I had to give it a try. I gave it a try. I gave them the money. They didn't give the money back when I stunk. I didn't do it again. But when do you got to have your plays in by?
Saturday, 4 o'clock.
I use proxy. There's a couple of different packages you can buy. I have to get them in by midnight my time.
Well, here's a good referral. So for next year, Jonathan, you check out GMF's because he does that. He's a proxy.
I do it all the way up to 2 p.m. on Saturday. So if you need a proxy, let me know. We'll take care of it.
All you got to do is send him a screenshot. Midnight. He's the man.
All right, second play, John.
I'm actually going to go with the Jets first half. They are the most profitable team, 9-2 against the spread this year, first half.
7-0 run.
Yeah, tied with Tennessee.
Yeah.
Mike White, 4 starts, 28 points per game during his 4 starts. Kirk Cousins, 37-37 against the spread as his record with the Vikings. I'm not a believer in him. Vikings are only 5-5-1 against the spread this year. The number at 3, normally you try to stay away from the Jets, but this is something where I'm going to jump on the first half. I might even put them on my circuit play, but I'm going to follow the trends, follow the first half. They're also 4-1 against the spread on the road this year, full game.
Wes, was Minnesota one of the teams you said to start fading?
Buffalo was one of them. Philly was one of them. That goes against my play this week. Play New England every single week and take the points. 0.75 unit, laying the points or taking the points, and then it was a quarter unit on the money line New England. That one's proven really profitable too.
Reno Johnny.
Detroit Lions. Every week I feel like I'm on the same 2 teams, and one of them is the Commanders. I kind of stopped being on the Commanders. Once they become favorites, I was like, I don't like them anymore. They were still covering. I'm back on the Lions. I think the Lions, they've done really well all season long. Pretty good offense. Been able to kind of keep pace. Jacksonville's coming off a emotional win last week against the Ravens.
Yeah, they went for 2.
Down 19-10. The Ravens are ever up by 2 scores in the 4th. Fade them. Money line 5 times this season. It's pretty remarkable. But I'm looking at the Jacksonville Jaguars now, hitting the road to go to Detroit off that emotional win at home. And they're facing a Lions team that I think is pretty good. First off, Jacksonville comes in at just 5-13-1 in the last 19 games overall, dating back to last season. So they have not been a good cover team. You look at the Lions, they've covered their last 4 games. They're 8-2 in their last 10 at home. They put up a ton of points, more points at home than they do on the road. I think Jared Goff might be one of the most underrated quarterbacks. I understand what they start. I understand their record, but a lot of that defense gives up a ton of points early on. But he's been able to put up points. He did it last year. He's doing it this year. And they may not have the most explosive guys. I think like Amon-Ra St. Brown kind of came on. They got rid of their tight end. Hawkinson leaving still hasn't really hindered the fact they can score the ball. They put up 25 points last week against the Bills. I think they're a team that just can put up enough points. I think one's a really good deal, fading the Jaguars off a pretty emotional win last week. And so I think when you look at coaching, I like Peterson, but Dan Campbell makes you want to run through a brick wall. Like, I feel like I'm suiting up for the Lions just hearing him talk, and I feel like that's a super infectious feeling. Like, I don't care how many games the Lions are down, if they're out of the playoffs, in the playoffs, they're always going to give 100%. So I feel like they're going to be a pretty good bet, even when they're eliminated from playoff contention. I'll take them again. I think I've been on them like all but like 2 weeks this year.
You mentioned the 25 points at home. That's the least they scored. 8 out of 9, they've scored at least 25 points at home. Remember the beginning of the season, they were really like two different teams. Now they're starting to play a little better on the road.
They lost the game. They scored 45. Their defense has really been worrisome. I think the Lions are a great bet-on team.
Also, Amon-Ra Brown missed a game here, a game there. Traded Hockenson to the Vikings, which kind of made me scratch my head a little bit. I really like Hockenson. I thought he was an excellent tight end. I don't think they really utilized him that
It's the Lions coaching staff. Can you really trust a lot of out of it?
They traded him, and they won the first game without him.
And the other tight ends, I think, caught 2 touchdowns.
Gets no credit in this. And some of the Lions been hurt this year. One game, I think the top 3 receivers were all out. They still won that. I don't feel like he gets nearly the credit that anybody else would get if that was who they were throwing the ball to.